there. Are you fixing that? Right.
Oops.
Thank God for
All right,
IT.
great. Thank you.
There we
All
go.
right, thank you. All right, now back to our regular scheduled programming. So shown here, like I said, are the updates due to community feedback we received. One of the changes I will highlight is that in the plan, we are proposing to remove the existing Route 32. However, we are making modifications to the Route 16 that operates in downtown St. Pete to provide the existing connections those riders are used to between the Methodist Town community and the Publix on 3rd Street. But one of the things that our consultant team EXP heard while riding the 32 buses is that some of those riders do use the service to access medical appointments. So we did extend the Route 16 downtown to serve 6th Avenue South to operate closer to the medical offices in the Innovation District. So just wanted to point that out as an example that we are definitely taking a lot of feedback into consideration and still making changes to this plan based on these types of conversations. So some of the next steps that are coming up. So following this meeting, we're going to adjust these network recommendations as needed based on conversations we've had out in the lobby, as well as some additional things just shown on the screen momentarily. And then we also received some great feedback from our operations team, where myself, Devin, and other members of the planning staff were stationed for about 8 hours last week in the operator's lounge, where we had a lot of great conversations with some of our drivers. Something that's happening behind the scenes is that on March 1st, every year we have to submit a progress report as part of our state-required transit development plan, where I'll be including a summary of the work done here to our progress report to FDOT. And then next year, every 5 years, we're required to do a major update to our transit development plan, outline our 10-year priorities. So you'll be seeing more on that later this year as we develop the major update to the TDP. And then following that, end of next month at the board meeting is when we will present the final set of recommendations, and it'll come before you as a vote. And if approved, we'll spend at least the next 6 months working with our scheduling team, facilities team, our community partners, our riders to do everything that needs to be done to implement these changes to go into effect as early as this fall around October. And so with that, I will pass it back to you, Chair, to start the public comment period.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate that. It's time for public comment. Excuse me, so far we have 3 cards. If there's anybody else in the audience that would like to speak, please grab a card right up here from Rachel and bring it up here, and she'll bring it up here if there's anybody else. With that, we'll get started. I'm going to open the public comment, and the first person that will speak is Linda Carter. Come on up, you have 3 minutes. Take your time.
Thank you.
Yep, right up to the podium. Yes, please.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you first and foremost for being open to us. Everyone here has been really nice on entrance. Wasn't expecting that, but nice. My basic thing is you have an amazing transit system here in the Pinellas County, but not all people are able to access it. There is a stop that would make a critical difference in many marginal people's lives, and that would be Keene and Sunset. If we could get a stop there, single-parent mothers with children could use the system to get downtown, get employment in different areas, and it makes no sense. There's this huge square area on Keene between Drew and Sunset that there's no bus stops. Makes no sense. Walking to Hercules or Highland, where the sidewalk systems aren't as extensive, with children isn't workable, with babies and toddlers. And the one on Hercules, you have to cross Hercules to the other side of Sunset to the McDonald's. Try that with an infant and a toddler, it's not gonna work. But there is a apartment complex, there's just enough people in those neighborhoods that would use the bus system, and 2 family members that I know that would benefit greatly from it. If they could just, make a stop there. So that's all I have to say, but I've asked that before many years ago. And again, I never understood why that whole blocked off area was there. It made no sense because there's just a lot of people that could be using your system. So that's it. That's all I have. And please take that into serious consideration and soon, because I know people that really, really need it and could use it. Thank you. Thank you for making
Linda.
your system so well. You have a wonderful system.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Kelly Kishlinger.
Did I say that right? I think it's
Kirschner.
Kushner.
Yeah.
Good morning, Chair Saraki. Did I
Morning.
get that right?
Yep,
Good. It's,
Sorry about that.
No worries, and members of the authority. My name is Kelly Kirschner. I'm Vice President and Dean of Executive and Continuing Education at Eckerd College, but I also oversee all of the college's community and government affairs work, and which is what brings me here today. I will maybe start by echoing what Linda just said too, just about the reception that I did not anticipate having today with all of the staff and the questions that frankly has been consistent throughout the process of my 13 years of working at Eckerd College with PSTA. And I think it is worth recognizing at a moment where there is a lot of vilification of government in general, local, state, federal. And at its best, government is us, for us, and by us. And I think, you know, when I think of my interactions with PSTA and what we're here talking about today, that is government at its best and hopefully serving all people. And so we, as Eckerd College, just wanted to come and support. I won't repeat everything in the letter, but I felt that it was important to be here. Really, for the first time, I believe, in the history of public transit in St. Pete, we will have not one but two buses that provide 15-minute headways in that southern area, particularly that 34th Street corridor, that is dramatically and quickly redeveloping with, just in the past few years, I think over 1,000 housing units. And that's not to mention then Eckerd College, with 70% of our students coming from outside of the state of Florida. And obviously with the cost of education, if a family can not have the need to send a car and pay that monthly car insurance bill, and we have a reliable transit system to get our students downtown to the beaches and beyond, it's going to be, I think, a significant advantage for our students. It's an advantage for our admissions office to market to these students that come from outside of the state of Florida that we're really excited about. And then for our staff that are over 500. There's a number of them, particularly in the food service area, that take PSTA now. We'll have commute times, one-way commute times of as much as 1 hour to just get maybe north of downtown. And that will significantly drop, I think, for our ability to retain and attract staff now that we're part of the UPass program. So everyone who is either a student or a staff member with that ID will be able to ride on PSTA for free. That expands dramatically, and so we're really excited about it and greatly appreciative of all the efforts that you have put into this plan to make all of this possible. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Next is Lori, is it Humple? Lori?
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Lori Humple. I'm a St. Petersburg resident, and I don't have any specific recommendations. I just wanted to say that as a frequent user of PSTA, and as someone who moved back to St. Pete after living in New York for several years, the number one factor in making the bus system convenient for me, and I assume probably for a lot of other people, is frequency of service on a lot of routes, because it's much easier with, for example, the Sunrunner, being able to, just, that there's another bus going to come in a few minutes, no matter what time you get there, whereas other routes, if they only come hourly or every 30 minutes, you have to take a lot more time to plan your day and make sure that you're able to get where you need to go. So I think that any changes to the system should prioritize frequency of service on the popular routes, but I also want to make sure that that doesn't remove service from communities that do need it. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you for coming in. Appreciate it very much. Lenny, I don't want to say your last name because I'll mess it up. Come on up. Thank you for coming.
Well, thank you very much for having this, Lenny Guggenheimer, Gulfport, and after looking at the maps that you have laid out, I'm glad that Gulfport's getting better service than might have been on the ridership model, I think, that, so it looks like, I think there's 2 or 3 routes now that are going to be serving Gulfport on a half-hour basis, and so I'm glad for that. So Gulfport, is situated so it's really easy to get downtown. Not so well going north, but I mean, for people who want to go downtown, or there's good service, and we can connect also with the Sunrunner. As somebody who uses the service occasionally, trying to find, if you look at the PSTA website and trying to find a route and the times of scheduling, it seems kind of difficult. I end up a lot better luck using Google Maps to try to find the route and the times. So I don't know what you might want to do as far as making it easier to see how your scheduling is. And also, when you implement this new change, how well are you going to publicize this? Is there going to be some kind of a trial period that, as you implement this and you're getting feedback from people, that you might make modification? Is that part of a plan too, that's like 2 or 3 months out from when you begin this new service, that you would say, okay, what are our comments now, and make an adjustment to that, or are we going to be with this service for an indefinite amount of time? That's my comments. Oh, one more thing. Our next, I'm also with the Fusion 49th District, and we're representing the changes that are happening in Gulfport between St. Pete and Gulfport on 49th Street, and I'd like to invite you to our next meeting on March 3rd at 6 o'clock at the Gulfport Neighborhood Center. You've been there before in the summer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lenny, for coming out. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Next, we have Sonia Kohina.
Hello.
Hi, welcome.
Morning.
Morning.
Thank you, Sonia Kekkonen. I see some of our St. Pete City Council members, so thank you. Good morning. Thank you for this opportunity. I rode the bus here today, and I'm really torn about this. I know that PSTA is so proud of everything they're doing and trying to do, and yet I've been riding the bus for the last year, and I find it very difficult. So I'm very torn now. On the plus side, I'm a veteran. I got a free bus pass. So it is very hard for me to come and complain for something that has been such a benefit to me and such a blessing that I don't pay to ride the bus. And yet I have so many difficulties and so many complaints about it. Just so you know, I'm in St. Pete. My main bus lines are the 22, which runs east to west, and one of the ones that they're planning on significantly cutting. The other lines are 20 and 7 that run east to west. These are once-an-hour bus lines. It is so difficult if you're going east to west than north to south to pick up a bus. Because if you're going once an hour, the north to south, like 34th and 52, which is what I use on 49th Street, you are traveling at least an hour. You have to leave so far in advance to get a bus. When you miss the bus, it is difficult to reroute. You can miss the bus standing at the bus stop. I can't tell you how many times I've missed the bus standing at the bus stop. So one, it's Florida. It's hot here. It rains here. The buses, other than for tourists, and I'm sorry because I have blinders, I only see how this affects me. And it seems like if you're a tourist, this would be really great with the Sunrunner and you can be a tourist. But it's Florida, it's hot. No one wants to stand at the bus stop. You're not going to get professionals using the bus because you're going to get there hot, sweaty, a wreck. And when it rains, you get rained on. The shelters, you can't sit under the shelters because you know what? If you're sitting there, the bus won't stop for you. If you're sitting on a bench, it is not assumed that you're waiting for the bus. And I'm out of time. I have so much more, but it's difficult. But thank you.
Thank you so much for coming and giving us your heartfelt feedback. Thank you so much. Next is Marta Lynch.
Good morning. I'm Marita Lynch. I am a 40-year resident of Clearwater, and I serve on the Citizens Advisory of Forward Pinellas. And I would like to commend PSTA because in a former life, I was a process improvement specialist based on statistical analysis. And I know that what the data tells you is not always the most popular solution to any issues that you have, but it could be the most effective. And when I look through the report that PSTA provided us, it impresses me how well done, what kind of research has been done, what kind of analysis has been done in order for them to come up with these most effective routes. So I commend them for that. I also commend them for the fact that they're open for all this feedback and that they're making adjustments based on people's feedbacks. I think that's a great public service. And as a 40-year resident of Pinellas County, I so appreciate the fact that they're making public transportation accessible to so many more people because we have such traffic congestion that the more public transportation we have, the better off we all are. So I'm in support of it, obviously. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have one comment card left. If there's anybody else out there, please, we want to hear your voice. Fill out the comment card and give it to Rachel. Next in line is Laura Keys. Come on up.
Hello. This is my first time at any meeting, so I'm not sure how to address everybody, but thank you for your hard work and for everybody being here and the coffee and bagels. I like donuts, but okay. So I'm riding the bus a lot lately, and I know sometimes I start my morning with a very strongly worded email to info@customer service, which right now is being returned to me, and it's a new address that I gotta send it to. So, I mean, I've got my complaints, but what my worry is, because I get it, I mean, it seems to be working, the transit centers, well, you know, we can't even charge a cell phone, and I got stranded on New Year's Eve once, and waiting for an Uber, my phone died, 2 guys are trying to knife each other in a parking lot, and it's just unclear why those, you know, if you're doing all this stuff, you're taking away a transit center, you're taking away Grand Central, I don't have a packet. Can you just put solar-powered cell phone? Because I like the app. The app is immersive, it works great, it gives us real-time data, but if you don't have a cell phone that you can charge to use it, then, you know, that's a lot of, and plus the buses tend to quit running early in the evenings. And I'm not sure, maybe in the packet, some of these route changes go a little longer in the evening, and that would be great. But those are my only two comments. All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that feedback. Is there anybody else that would like to speak? Yep, come on up, bring that card right to me. And come on right up. Yes, please.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Thank you. Go ahead. I don't want, Marissa?
Yes,
Thank you, Marissa. Welcome.
sorry, I'm short. Okay. My name is Marissa Maget. I am a 31-year-old single mom, and I've been living here for about 2 years now. Absolutely love Florida, came from Texas. However, as a single mom, when I do have a car, but when it breaks down, it's very hard to get to places. I speak for, Linda. I came with her. I am one of her nieces, so a little bit biased. However, I know other single moms, and I've been into different of our church and our single mom communities. I'm also a part of the Shepherd's Village, and they have single moms as well. And so when your car gets down or you don't have a car or something like that, that port that she was talking about with Sunset Point and the other streets, that would be very, very helpful. And yeah, because I had this one time my car went down. I was trying to figure out how to get my son to school. And a bus route would have been nice. But, thank God I did have some friends and family that helped out. And I do like the bus where you go and you park and you can get the bus and you can go to the beach. That's nice. And my son, we do that, and he loves the sand. So it's my very first time ever doing a board meeting. I'm a little bit nervous, to be honest. But thank you for your time and your effort, and you're just welcoming to the public and keeping the transit system. That's awesome. In Texas, I had to take a bus a lot, and we used our Star T. And yeah. I didn't really like the bus system there because it took a whole hour or 3 hours just to get, 20 minutes down the road. So whatever system y'all did here has definitely improved on that. But yeah, just those streets. So appreciate it.
Thank you for coming out. We appreciate your feedback. Thank you very much. I'm going to make last call. Anyone else? This is a public hearing. Anybody can speak. We want to hear your voice. All right, with that, I'm going to close the public hearing. Our next item on the agenda is a presentation, Cigna Healthy Workforce Award. Congratulations to PSTA for being healthy. Carla Bird, PSTA's Senior HR Manager, will show us how we won this award from Cigna. Carla, come on up.
Hi, thank you so much, Mr. Chair. So, as you stated, we have been awarded the Cigna Healthy Workforce Award, and this is the first time that PSTA has achieved this, and I do have to say it is a great honor. We actually made the gold, so as everyone knows, you've got silver, bronze, but we've got the gold. So, just to tell you a little bit about what Cigna does, is they evaluate us based on a whole organization health, and that's how we achieve this. I'll get into a few of those details. But these are some of the other agencies that have achieved it as well. We are right there with them, and it will be posted soon on our social media website. So a few of the things that we did that we're proud of are quarterly wellness challenges. So you'll see here, I've got a few images. This was actually a selfie challenge. So we challenged our employees to take a picture of themselves while they were either doing an activity, eating something healthy. So we had a lot of people that submitted pictures of eating salads or drinking something healthy, such as a protein shake or just some water. So they were excited about that, very involved. And then we also do snack and learns. I'm going to say one of my favorites may be teaching our employees how to budget. So this does fall under wellness. It's financial wellness. So when we talk about wellness here at PSTA, It is not just these images of physical activity, it's also our mental health and our financial health. One of the big things that we got kudos on was communication, because we communicate in many ways. As you know, our employees, it's very diverse. So we've got operators that may not even come to the building. They may pick their bus up someplace else, and they may not see us, for a month or so. So we have to communicate with them by text messaging. So we send out text messages. We have big monitors set up throughout the buildings that we create flyers, and we also send emails, and then word of mouth. And then I'm out in the driver's lounge sometimes at 4 a.m. pushing this for them, getting them to know about it, hooking up their activity trackers, and just getting them excited and involved. So those were a few things. And then there's some more shots of some of our employees during that selfie challenge. And also, so according to studies, one of the biggest things that are popular in organizations is a healthy workforce. And not only can the companies benefit from that, but the employees can as well. I've listed just 3 things here, but there are many reasons why it's a benefit to the employees. And because of that, I'm proud to be the senior manager of HR, because I have a hand in this directly. We have a great management team. Our CEO, the support that we get is phenomenal. And then, of course, our board. So I just want to thank you all for hearing this today, and hopefully you are as excited as we are that we won the gold. And thank you so much, and I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Congratulations. Let's hear it for being healthy. All right, next item on our agenda is the public comment for our regular board meeting. Anybody would like to speak, fill out a green card and give it to Rachel. Do you have any green cards, Rachel? No? Anybody like to speak? All right. Then I would, next item is our consent agenda. Are there any items the board members wishes to pull? Okay. Alan, would you please read the resolution?
Resolution 2501, a resolution of the Pinellas Suncoast Transit Authority Board of Directors amending the rules and regulations as adopted by Resolution 12-07 as amended by amending Section 3.02 regarding the powers and duties of the CEO, ED, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent docket.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any other discussion on the consent docket? Can you please open up the voting system?
Mine didn't come up.
Okay, I can manually enter it, is it a yes or no?
Yes.
All right, then we have, motion passes 11-0. Thank you very much. Next item is community updates. First, we are going to hear from the Chair of the Transit Riders Advisory Committee, TRAC. Gloria, come on up. I like your little red flag.
I don't have it today.
Welcome, Gloria. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Let me get this. Oh, you got it. Oh,
We're
thanks.
just rushing here to help you.
Or else I'll just talk really loud. Good morning, Chair Saraki and other board members and Mr. Miller. The TRAC met on Zoom last Tuesday, the 18th of February. And first on our agenda was that we have each year's initiatives. And this year we have 2 initiatives. And interestingly, the first initiative very much involves all of you. We agreed that we would like to better understand our board as the transit riders, but we also want you to understand us as transit riders and the experiences that we have. And so our first initiative really is to invite all of you, and then to coordinate and then accompany each of you on an actual PSTA ride with a TRAC member. The details of how this will be implemented are still being fleshed out, but basically we want to be reaching out to each of you and determining what would work for all of you with your schedules and where you're located to take you on a brief ride with a transit rider. But in advance of that, we wanted to ask you to do something, and that I want you to do that today if you can, please. and that is, there's the transit app. I don't know if any of you already have that on your phones or not, but it's an incredibly valuable app that shows what buses are coming and going, how to get from one place to another. They mentioned Google Maps. It does basically the same kind of thing that a Google Maps will do relative to the bus system. But we use it, as riders, we use it constantly, where it's like, oh, okay, this bus is going to be here in 15 minutes, or, oh, I can take one of these 2 buses. And I would love to have you put that app on your phones, or if you already have it, try using it. I liken it to paper trading when you're going to be buying stocks. They say, oh, go ahead and just do it on papers before you put your dollars down. Well, in this case, we're talking about it basically like paper bus riding. If you're not riding the system right now, look, when you're at work or when you're at home, if I were to go to this place or that place, how would I do it on the PSTA system? I think it's just a very interesting approach to learning about the system. And once you've done that, look and see, are there some routes you would be interested in going on? And we can do a better job of matching up a transit rider, a track member, who can in fact ride with you for that. And again, one of the key points of this whole initiative is we would like to hear your point of view. As riders, we want to hear what motivates our board, and we would like, again, the board to understand what motivates us as riders, why we ride, and so forth. Okay, so then our second initiative is that we are going to try to partner with Keep Pinellas Beautiful, and we're going to coordinate some cleanup events at several relevant PSTA locations. Some of these may be the County Beach Park by the Sunrunner Station or the Grand Central area. And we'll let you know when we have those programs set. And then the final thing at our meeting was Jacob Labutka came and talked about the Connected Community Bus Network again with us. And again, we all applaud the amount of work that's gone into doing that, to coordinating that. I personally don't want to see the Route 67 go away. However, I totally understand why that probably needs to be so. But again, we really appreciate all the effort that went into trying to do the best for all the riders and for the community. Our next meeting will be on Tuesday, March 18th at 4 p.m. here at PSTA. And again, not only are you welcome to attend, we invite you to attend. We would love to have you again be as engaged as possible with us as riders, because it's good when the board knows what the end user needs as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming out. Next, we're going to get an update from Commissioner Patty Reed on the local coordinating board.
Thank you very much. Did it tomorrow? The local coordinating board, LCB, met on February 18th in downtown Clearwater. We began with the annual TD public workshop and then began the LCB meeting with the approval of the 2025 200% of federal poverty rates table for use in determining TD eligibility. A very insightful presentation was given about the role of adult protective services. Ford Pinellas' Rob Feigl then just walked us through the annual Community Transportation Coordinating, the CTC, evaluation of PSTA, which was very positive. It was unanimously approved by the LCB. The next LCB meeting will take place on May 20th at 9:15.
Thank you very much. And I'm going to do the Ford Pinellas update. The board met, the Ford Pinellas board meeting was held on February 12th, 2025. The board approved an amendment to the Transportation Improvement Program, TIP. The amendment was requested due to an increase in construction costs. The project involves widening the intersection and approaching lanes along complementary safety improvements at alternate US 19, State Road 595, at State Road 586, Curlew Road, Causeway Boulevard in Dunedin. The board also approved US 19 Regional Transit Service Plan scope and fee. The study began in 2022 with the Tampa Bay Regional Transit Authority, T-BARTA. The study evaluated the region transit service on US 19 corridor between Pinellas and Pasco counties. The follow-up effort will refine an express bus service and cost details of the plan's implementation and evaluate transit-oriented development opportunities. The board received funding from the Regional Waterborne Transportation Market Demand Study. The Ford Pinellas Board approved a scope of work for a regional market demand study to assist the St. Petersburg Chamber of Commerce and Urban Land Institute. Findings are intended to provide recommendations and identify opportunities for enhanced services. The next Forward Pinellas Board meeting will be held on March 12th at 1 p.m., and that concludes our reports. And next we have is item 7, pass-through of funds for the City of St. Petersburg Pier Electric Trans Project. Chris Corrigan, PSTA Senior Project Manager, will present this administrative item. Chris, come on up. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Hey. Morning, Board, and Chairman Saraki and Brad. My name is Chris Cochran, Senior Project Manager with the Project Management Office. The item before you today is a recommendation that was approved unanimously by the Finance Committee in January to approve the necessary administrative actions to facilitate a funding pass-through of federal grant dollars that were awarded to PSTA in March of 2024. Now, these funds will enable the City of St. Petersburg to purchase an electric tram vehicle to operate transit operations on the St. Pete Pier. So to start, I want to emphasize that this action involves no financial obligation to PSTA or liability to PSTA. The City of St. Petersburg will be fully responsible for the tram's operations, the maintenance, and any associated liabilities as outlined in the agreements that are in your packet. And just to add to that, a lot of collaboration between the city's legal staff and PSTA's general counsel with Alan Zimmett and his team was taken to ensure that all responsibilities were very clearly defined, and again, that PSTA's liability was that we will hold no liability for this. So with that context, I want to walk you through the specifics of this recommendation. To accomplish the required funding pass-through of these funds, the staff is recommending the authorization for the Chief Executive Officer to sign and approve the following contracts for the City of St. Petersburg Pier Electric Tram Project. The first will be the interlocal agreement with the City of St. Petersburg to purchase the tram for the pier operations. And the second is a lease agreement with the City of St. Petersburg for the use of the electric tram. And the third is an approval for Brad Miller to sign off on a purchase order for the actual purchase of the tram vehicle from Gator Motor Utility Vehicles and more. So just a quick background on this program, and on this project. In last year, in March of 2024, PSTA was awarded a little over $1.1 million in community project funding as part of an earmark appropriations. The grant fund included an on-route electric charger project that we are doing concurrently with the item that we have here today that we will bring back and talk to you more about. But this is an actual separate item, and these funds were lumped together in this grant. So the specific tram dollars out of this grant, the project itself is $150,000 total. The city is committed to putting up $50,000 of their own money, and $100,000 will come from this grant for the other $100,000 to be able to purchase the $150,000 vehicle. The interlocal and lease agreements, again, as I mentioned, they're very well crafted to define the roles and responsibilities for the tram's use and the maintenance. Again, the city will be responsible for all of those. And this will require approval by the board here today, as well as the city council, and they will be taking it to their council in the near future. And again, the tram will be purchased by Gator Motor Utility Vehicles and More LLC under a general services contract that we've worked with the city to identify what that tram will be. And you'll see a picture of it there in the lower right corner, very similar to the one they have out there now, but this one will be battery operated. Very cool tram. So again, today, we're recommending the authorization for the Chief Executive Officer to sign and approve the following contracts for the City of St. Petersburg Pure Electric Tram Project, the interlocal agreement with the City of St. Petersburg for the purchase of the tram for Pure operations, the lease agreement with the City of St. Petersburg for the use of the electric tram, and the approval of Mr. Miller to sign off on a purchase order for the electric tram vehicle from Gator Utility Vehicles and More LLC. And I'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? Mayor, go ahead.
Thank you. What exactly was the grant's purpose? What's its general purpose?
So the original grant had a project for PSTA to acquire 2 electric chargers to put en route. Currently, we have electric chargers in the yard. And then we had some interest from the city, and this was through a sponsor with Representative Castor, to get assistance from PSTA to be able to get funds for this electric vehicle grant. The City of St. Petersburg is not an eligible direct recipient of this type of grant. So we agreed that we would assist in being able to help facilitate that process.
And what can these funds be used for at this particular grant?
Specifically, the purchase of electric vehicle infrastructure, being the chargers and the tram.
So it can't be used for anything else?
No, sir.
Okay, it's just the name says community project funding. So it's kind of I'm thinking.
Correct.
Let me kind of walk you down where I'm going with this, right? So at the last planning board meeting, we had a conversation about bus stops and the cost of bus stops running anywhere between $50,000 to $150,000, right? And we've had several people here in the community, and I'm looking at this thing that says community project funding. So I'm thinking funding for community projects. For example, like what Marissa and her aunt mentioned, which is to bring a bus stop to a much-needed location. And so now I'm just going through the numbers here. You know, St. Petersburg has a budget of $900 million. PST has a budget of $120 million. And we're contributing 2/3 of the money for a city that has 8 times our annual budget. When it seems like there are needs in the community, besides what was mentioned with the bus stop, with the charging stations, with, having better shelters. And so my question is, can we use this in a way that benefits the community in a much greater capacity rather than somebody who doesn't want to walk from the parking lot to the restaurant?
So as with many grants, the community, the community program that this grant is under, when you write an application, it is for a specific purpose an intent that you write the grant for. Mm-hmm. And when you are awarded that grant, the expectation is that you use the money for how you wrote the grant.
So when we wrote the grant, we wrote it for those 2 charging stations, and we no longer need those 2 charging stations?
No, we do. So these 2 projects are essentially separate projects. So $100,000 of the 1.1+ million will be going towards the tram vehicle.
If approved.
The remainder of it is dedicated and funded for the en route electric vehicle chargers. Which
So how much do those chargers cost?
Anywhere from 175 to 200,000, depending on how they are
So
done.
we
But there's a
were-
significant amount of design and construction
So of the
involved.
$1.1 million, how much of that is going toward those charging stations?
So we have, at this point in time, we are thinking probably pretty close to about 350 to 400,000 will be going towards the charging infrastructure. We're currently in the process of having design done for a site, one of the two sites that we're looking at. When all is said and done, the expectation is that we will come pretty close to spending that money.
The 1.1 million?
Yes, sir.
And are we going to have a shortfall if we give $100,000 away?
No. No, we do not anticipate that being the case.
Sure.
Mayor, and I might add, the community funded projects is Congress's new word for earmarks.
Sure.
And they came up with that terminology. And what happened back in 2022, I think it was the city of St. Petersburg had a request for an earmark, community for this tram vehicle. And then they just, up in Washington DC, they decided to lump our project and the city's project together into one because the city was not an eligible grantee. So that's how this came together. But the money cannot be spent on anything else other than what was originally in the grant, as Chris has said.
Yeah, again, I'm just trying to understand here, right? So normally, when you ask for grants, I don't see them, this is the first time I've ever seen them give you more than what you may have asked for. Usually it's, I need 5 million, here's 500,000, right? So it seems rather unusual that we got more than what we may actually need so that we have a surplus to pass it on somewhere else. And so just to make sure I understand, so what happened is the city of St. Petersburg says we're not eligible for this grant. Can you, on our behalf, apply for this grant and then give us the money later?
Yeah, essentially, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Driscoll.
Thank you. Did you say earlier that this item was approved unanimously by the Finance Committee?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
In January, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I'll move approval.
All right, I have one more comment. Commissioner Shear.
Yes, thank you, Chair. There's a tram on the pier now. Is there something wrong with the tram on the pier now?
So one of the purposes of this tram is to supplement the coming of the end of the useful life of the existing tram, the gas-powered trams that are out there, and the growing capacity needed for I believe the last number was 2.3 million annual riders on the pier. So-
I've used the gas tram on the pier. I didn't know there was a problem with it. So it's just, what's going to happen to is the city going to sell that tram?
That is a city matter. I can't
All right.
answer on behalf of the city. So-
Does the city have do they ever give us funds that they've received in grants that they can't use before? This is just new to me.
I can't answer that. I do know they are great partners with us on a number of projects in helping coordinate giving up parking spots for bus stop layovers, and coordinating with us to be able to provide transit in the downtown area when we can, so.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have a motion on the floor. I'll entertain a second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any other discussion on this item? Please open the voting system. All right, it passes, motion passes 7-4. Thank you very much for that great presentation, appreciate that. Next item on our agenda is 8A, Cross Ferry Service and Federal Ferry Boat Grant. Darden Rice, PSTA's Chief Planning and Community Affairs Officer, and Debbie Leas, our CFO, will outline plans to assist with overseeing the Cross Bay Ferry Service and preserving a federal grant for ferry vessels. Darden, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members of PSTA Board of Directors. I'm Darden Rice. I'm our Chief Planning and Community Affairs Officer, and Debbie Leas, our CFO, and I want to update you this morning on one of our planned services for fiscal year 2025, and that is overseeing the contract operation of the Cross Bay Ferry. As the project manager, I have given this presentation both to the Planning and the Finance Committee very recently. I'm also love working on this project. It's an opportunity to bring a lot of different perspectives and self-interest together for, I think, an interesting project. It's not easy brokering these relationships, but the work is worthwhile and we can achieve something greater than doing it all by ourselves. There is no action needed today. Debbie and I are happy to answer any questions you have about this. Since week before last, our counterparts, the HART Board of Directors decided to defer any action on transferring a federal grant, and the Hillsborough County Commissioners are scheduled to discuss the Cross Bay Ferry on March 5th. I will be there. So I want to be very clear. The ferry service we are discussing today and the passenger ferry grant, federal grant for a ferry boat, would be used on the Cross Bay Ferry, the intercity service between the City of Tampa and the City of St. Pete. That is the existing contracted service that operates now. This is not South County to McDill. For the past 7 years, this service has been operating as a pilot. And in that time, we have seen that we've had good growing ridership trends, and we've seen some initial economic impact studies that are all very positive. I want to tell you a little bit about some of our efforts to expand the pilot and what's next. You may have heard of an idea that was considered and then rejected in Hillsborough County for a completely different ferry route between South Hillsborough and MacDill Air Force Base. That idea was rejected and is not and will not be considered by PSTA. We also learned last fall that Hillsborough and Hart received a 2021 federal grant to purchase a passenger ferry boat, and that was rather than borrow one from Boston like the current service does. But this grant has never been implemented and is now subject to lapse and go back to the US DOT. And then those funds, almost $4 million, will be lost from the region. It will go back to another city, another ferry program. Finally, the Hillsborough County contract with HMS Ferries, that's the incumbent contractor. The Hillsborough County contract with HMS Ferries and their boat from Boston ends this coming September. Ever since PSTA was approached by the funding partners of St. Pete, Tampa, and Hillsborough County a year ago, PSTA has been very careful and very respectful of all of the issues developing this plan and overseeing a new contracted ferry operation between St. Pete and Tampa. So I also want to be very clear. All we want is to keep funds in the region. PSTA has been in constant contact with the FTA on a regular basis throughout all of the steps of this process. At this point, it is a local decision to change the sponsor of the grant, not the scope, the sponsor. HART is the current sponsor, PSTA would be the new sponsor, and that is a local decision. FTA does not get involved until they see that we have a local decision in place. And once we show the FTA that HART is relinquishing this unused federal grant and that PSTA would accept, then it goes up the chain through the FTA, USDOT, it comes back down the chain, and with approvals and reviews every step of the way, and then PSTA, assuming all goes well, PSTA is then approved as the new sponsors of the federal grant. So what that means is, this is a brand new day for the Cross Bay Ferry Service. It is no longer a pilot program as of October 1st of this year. It's the leadership here of today, not yesterday's leadership, today's leadership, with PSTA's expertise in overseeing the contracted services. We will provide a completely new and much more efficient ferry operation with a new contractor. And this will be better than the service we experienced during the pilot period. Our goal is to provide better service, lower subsidies, so that people have more choices to connect across the bay. Our proposed service would be similar to a lot of what we're already doing with how we run the Clearwater Beach Ferry. It would be a contracted operation. We would use the grant-funded boats to lower the operating cost and lower the subsidies while improving the service. So at this point, I'm going to pass this over to our CFO, Debbie Leos, who's going to talk more about how that all actually works as a financial benefit. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Darden. Debbie Leos, Chief Financial Officer here. And as Darden mentioned, PSTA historically has been very successful in managing contracted services. We've got a lot of them. And just like the Clearwater Ferry, I think this is a very unique and special opportunity that we can use grant funds to purchase a ferry that a private contractor would then utilize to potentially save money for the region and our regional funding partners. If you take a look at the costs, now I know that the Clearwater Ferry Service is not equivalent to the Cross Bay Ferry Service, but you will see that PSTA is paying $87 an hour for our service for Clearwater. Now, why is that? Because the state provided grant funding to the city of Clearwater to buy boats so that the private contractor would only have to worry about paying for the crew, the maintenance, insurance, etc. Now compare that to the Cross Bay Ferry at $450 an hour, so it's really more than 5 times more to be able to pay for a boat and the service. So, as Darden mentioned, for this to happen, HART would have to agree to transfer the funds to PSTA to purchase the boats, just like the City of Clearwater did for the Clearwater Ferry Service. And I think what will happen when we do this is a great opportunity to save money for our funding partners. And one of the key things is with the grant and the transfer, the way we have it structured, is that the Hillsborough County will no longer have to have a cash match. We've been able to structure it such that there is no cash match. PSTA will pay nothing. So it's not only lowering the cost of the service, it's lowering the cost to our funding partners, ultimately reducing the subsidies as we get more money back into the region through the service we provide. So we want to be able to do 2 things that are my favorite things on this slide. One is to do the service at no cost to PSTA, and the other, similar to the tram service we just talked about with the City of St. Pete, at no liability to PSTA. So we will basically just administer this. The private contractor will maintain the boats to Coast Guard standards, and we will be able to save money. Now, Essentially, if HART approves this transfer, PSTA will seek the US DOT approval, and if granted, which we feel very confident it will be, we will be able to go ahead, procure the boats, do the solicitation for the services, and then be able to do the operations at what we believe it is a much lower cost. However, if HART decides they don't want to transfer the funds will just go back into the federal government, back into the ferry pot for ferry service at some other city in the United States. So no matter what, PSTA, effective for October 1st, will be operating ferry service. The question becomes, do we want to save the taxpayer dollars and do it at a lower cost or not? And unfortunately, that decision is not in our hands. It's in the hands of HART and the funding partners. So with that, I will take questions, as will Darden.
Thank you very much. Any questions? David?
I just have a comment, not necessarily a question. As you know, we've been talking about waterborne transportation since before COVID, and Clearwater took the first step in getting this going, and we've had that program with the Cross Bay Ferry. The whole point is to connect Clearwater all the way down and then connect it to the Cross Bay. And I'm really excited about this because it's a great opportunity. If we can get this, if HART does allow us to have this at a low cost, it'll show a lot of these other municipalities from Clearwater all the way down to the mouth of Tampa Bay that this can be done. And we're in a perfect location with a chain of out islands all the way down to Tampa Bay to really save getting cars off the road and getting people to these out islands, which is our main, the beaches are our main source of income. And I'm real excited about this. It looks like, I thought COVID kind of killed it for a little bit, but it's bouncing back. So I really hope this happens. I'll be looking forward to March 5th. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Walker.
Thank you, Chair. I share the enthusiasm for the vision. We received this presentation at the Finance Committee, and subsequently I've had a few questions with regards to this. So it's clear that this is basically a pass-through, and the PSTA is the administrator for this. My question would be so then, besides the fact that PSTA will be involved in enhancing another transportation aspect, which does really tie the whole Tampa Bay region, if you will, together, what is the benefit to PSTA?
That is an excellent question. And if you see me running down a hall, and a lot of the board members have heard me say this in the past, it's because I'm chasing a nickel running down the hallway. So what this does is the miles, the hours of service, et cetera, that we run will then be reported out to the Federal Transit Administration. It takes a little bit of time, you know how the federal government works, to crank things through, but what ends up happening is we get more money back from the federal government. So the money that we'll get back from the federal government for running this service, we will be able to set aside some money for replacement vessels. We could set aside some money for docks. And the other thing is, once we set aside that money, leftovers can go back into public transportation, reducing our costs. So it is a benefit to us, and I know Commissioner Scott is not here today, but I think his question was, is the juice worth the squeeze? And I think from a financial aspect, it is.
Yes, I appreciate that answer. So what's the tangible the tangible indicator of PST involvement? Is it a brand on the boat? Is it what does that look like?
I would think that just like the ferry service for Clearwater, which we've branded with PSTA, we would do the same thing. The other thing is, you've just heard this morning about the community-connected bus network. It'll dovetail so nicely into what our plans are in downtown St. Pete.
And has there been any, because I know that this has been discussed in the past, different operator, different service, but is there any sort of projections in terms of ridership?
I don't know if you've got.
We do see ridership starting to come back up. Like Commissioner Albritton mentioned, we did take a hit during the pandemic, of course. And then I don't know if you've had a chance to see some of the presentations on the future impact of waterborne transit in the county that was presented by Forward Pinellas. But we see a lot of ridership, a lot of latent demand on the weekends, and that's even if there isn't a Lightning game. And we also see that there's a little bit more actually riders from Tampa than there are St. Pete riders. So I don't have a crystal ball, I can't predict it, but we do anticipate reasonably that it would increase. And certainly by PSTA having a controlling interest in an additional vessel, if we contract with another company that has their own vessel, then we're able to offer increased frequency and increased span of service. And we know that's the 101 recipe for increased ridership because people have more choices. And if we're successful in helping to bring that subsidy down, there would also be, we would, very reasonably anticipate higher ridership because we're able to bring that cost down.
Yep, that's good. The one concern I would have is that, and it's great that at the onset that the HMS ferries, I think that's the company, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. They're taking on all of the maintenance costs and all the operations costs. But as a boat owner myself, I certainly appreciate the maintenance costs and the increase thereof. I'm just curious, who sets the price for the ridership?
That would be something that we would negotiate in the RFP process.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so that would be.
We did, in the study I just mentioned, there was some work done reaching out to the public to indicate what that range is of what the public would prefer to pay. It was like $17 to $20 round trip. So we're just a little bit above that right now with a $24 cost. Of course, there's a senior discount fare and other fares that apply, but we're a little bit higher than we want to be.
Well, yeah, that's encouraging, though. You've already ran the numbers, and, I would encourage that, we get below that, because obviously what we don't want to have happen is to come in at a price point that's too high, we don't have ridership, and then this turns into, because ultimately, our success is predicated on the success of the contractor. And so we do have some skin in the game. We do have some risk that we are taking on with this. So, that would be the one takeaway that I could possibly provide is to let's get that price point as low as possible, negotiate it into the RFP. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Walker. Next, I have Mayor Petrella.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, Gordon.
Hi.
Debbie. There were a few qualifiers, ifs and maybes in your presentation. Is there some reluctance on HART to transfer the funds or the grant?
Do you want to?
Just trying to understand what the background is.
I'm not sure. I think from our discussions, they would like to transfer this over, but it has to be approved by their board.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why there would be a reluctance to do it. We just need something. It could be a simple email in writing, as FTA put it to HART, that all they need is say, please transfer the funds to PSTA. That's all they need.
Right.
So I just think there needs to be a discussion at their end. Like I said, the funding partners have asked us to run the service. It's a question of does the region want it at a lower cost or not?
Sure.
May I add to that? Mayor, I think there may have been some confusion that this was trying to revive the South Hillsborough to MacDill Air Force Base route, and that's not the case at all. This
Right.
is about PSTA taking over the contracted service as of October 1st this year.
Right. How come they haven't used the funds? I mean, I'm with Debbie. I mean, it's $4 million. It's,
I really can't answer for them, but I mean, during this whole time period, we've gone through COVID, we've gone through a lot of different things. HART
Sure.
has gone through a lot of changes in their executive leadership. So, you know, I would think they were going to do what they're doing, which is concentrating on their core mission
Right.
at this point. And that's what they need to do, and so this has just sort of been put to the side as a lower priority.
and I'm looking at, this stuff over here, hard transfers, then US DOT has to, is there a reason we can't do what we just did with the St. Petersburg trolleys, where they just assign us the
Well,
grant?
They can easily sign us the grant once, because it's in HART's name,
Mhm.
HART just needs to say, PSTA, it's yours, and then
I
it
understand.
becomes very
I'm saying
easy.
like this over here says, hey, you've got to go back to US DOT for approval. And
Right.
almost like reapplying for the grant, but under our name now, that's.
No, it's just an approval process of going ahead, and we send the email, or HART sends the email to FTA, FTA sends it up the chain and says, okay, we'll do the transfer, and puts their signature on it, and as Darden nicely said, it just comes back down to us to administer.
Okay, so it's not a long,
No,
drawn-out approval
should not be.
process where we might lose the funds because they decide that we don't get to keep them?
No, and I think, one of the things that is important to FTA and to USDOT is to keep the funds to the region.
Sure.
They don't want to, the district, the local district that we work with out of Atlanta, Region 4, they don't want to lose the money.
Of course. Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioner Driscoll?
Thank you. I appreciate that you have been working so closely with FTA on how this process would work, and it is through their guidance. It's because of that guidance that we can feel confident about the success of the transfer if it's approved by HART, right? FTA has been quite a good partner.
They've been a great partner, as always, and the whole reason that HART at one point tried to see if the funds, capital funds, could go towards buses. The answer was no. Even we asked if these funds could go towards a new dock in St. Pete instead of just the ferry. The answer was no. And just the fact that we have this information, we know it, is evidence that we talk to FTA about this on a very regular basis. So I don't want to suggest it's a foregone conclusion, but we're reasonably confident this can happen. But it does go through a process up the chain and down because it was a competitively awarded grant. This wasn't formula funding.
Right.
This grant, HART was originally awarded. They kind of beat out other areas that applied for it. So out of fairness, that's the type of scrutiny and evaluation that would be applied to it as they look at, well, what exactly is going on here with this proposal to change the sponsor? And I do feel confident that once they take a look at it, it'll be fine.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of the questions about the rates and what is charged, I appreciated Commissioner Walker's questions and comments. This is what I love about the fact that we've already been through the pilot phase of this. We've already learned what works, what doesn't, and, the rates did change over those first few years just to respond to the, demand and increased demand when we needed it to. So the pilot period has given us a chance to play with those kinds of things and get it right, although I'm sure there will always be ways to look for improvements if we're able to go forward with this. But the bottom line is we're now at year-round service and, looking at separating from HMS, we're going to do this. I mean, it's not a question of whether or not the Cross Bay Ferry is going to continue. It's about how. And this particular funding is going to be a savings that benefits both Pinellas and Hillsborough counties. It is a great example of that regional transportation solution that everyone talks about and likes to say that they support. So this is a chance for some true regionalism to happen, and I do hope it goes forward. I'll be keeping an eye on that discussion that takes place over there on March 5th. Thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Hazelden?
Yes, thank you. So I've been watching this project as a resident of St. Pete for these past years, ever since Mayor Kreisman went to the county commission, probably 4 or 5 years ago, to try to get the Cross Bay Ferry started. And, I'm not going to be supporting this because I think that the reason, we'll see, but I think the reason that Hart really has not released the money is basically they're just afraid to let go of it because we might know something they don't know. But what they do know is that the ridership has never been there and that it is really interrupted with their other core mission. I'm so torn about this because even though some of the board members are excited about the idea of getting into ferries, I think that we have, just even by manifested by speakers today, we have some problems that need to be worked on that are in our core mission that have to do with buses and transit and what the majority of people in Pinellas County certainly rely on to get their kids to school. So I think that this is just another shiny object, a distraction from the core. And, there was an article that came out in the Times this morning that I was reading this morning before I left. And the name of the article is Pinellas County, Take My Ferry, Please. And this is, the sense of relief when someone hauls away the junk you piled on the curb. That's how Hillsborough should feel about offloading a ferry boat to Pinellas. So let's be careful what we wish for. I will be voting against this because I think that we've had a pilot project and basically it's failed. And now Hart has got this money and they're like, I don't know if I want to let go of this money. We could send it back to the feds and reduce the federal deficit. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak? All right, thank you, staff, for your presentation. Greatly appreciative. Next item on our agenda is reports, future meeting subjects. And Brad, do you want to update us on reports in our packet and upcoming meeting subjects?
I will. Thank you, Chair. Good morning.
Morning.
So in your packet are the ridership reports, and there's a second item in your packet. I want to thank the PSA Finance Committee, led by our new chair of the Finance Committee, Commissioner Tom Reed, for serving as our selection committee for our audit services. And so they will, in the coming months, enjoy a lot of reading of proposals from auditing companies. Thank you to the Finance Committee of that. And so in your packet is the criteria that the Finance Committee chose at their last meeting. A couple items I would like to recognize. He's on here today. Maybe that's already it. We got word from Mayor Brown in Largo that we'll be getting a new board member from Largo. Commissioner Chris Johnson is unable to attend the PSA meetings regularly, and so I want to thank him for his service. PSA has been very busy recently, as most of you know, on implementing some new services, and they're not in your ridership reports yet, but they will be next month. Just a couple. On January 10th, in very cold weather, we opened the new downtown St. Petersburg Sunrunner Station, as well as at the same time launched what we're calling Sunrunner After Dark, which is increased weekend frequency on the Sunrunner. And both initiatives are showing early success. The new station had nearly 1,000 boardings in its first 3 weeks in January, and appears to be, it is seemingly one of the only stations on the Sunrunner that has almost an equal number of people getting on as people getting off. Many of the other stops are either have just mostly boardings because they're going like to the beach or from the beach back, or they serve as places for people to get off at the destination. It's going to be a great addition for this week's Grand Prix event in St. Petersburg because it's very close to one of the race track's main spectator entrances. The late night service has been a huge hit, increasing nighttime ridership by 101% on Fridays, 45% on Saturdays, and 34% increase on Sundays. Then on Friday, January 31st, we launched the Clearwater Ferry. And so far, ridership on the Clearwater route without Dunedin is beating prior year's ridership on the Clearwater Ferry, even from before the pandemic, on the combined two routes of Dunedin, the combined Clearwater. We already are seeing higher ridership this year just in Clearwater. So stay tuned. Once we get Dunedin, we'll be really rocking on that. And then finally, 2 weeks ago, we launched the Grouper Airport Shuttle from St. Pete Clearwater Airport. And as of Monday, we had carried 79 riders on the service, on the on-demand service. Thank you, Commissioner Brian Scott. He's going to join me tomorrow for a promotional event there at the airport. That'll be exciting. The cost of that service is $8 a ride. And you know, we're marketing to tourists that fly on Allegiant in and out of that airport. In Dunedin, we're running the very popular Blue Jays shuttle with the Jolly Trolley. And Canadians like the Blue Jays and they like riding the trolley. So that is going well so far. This weekend starts our partnership with the City of Clearwater on the Jolly Trolley being free to go from downtown Clearwater at parking and ride lots to the beach. So we're very excited about that. That's always very, very popular, especially this time of year when we have our highest ridership. In March, I think like many of you have told me that I will be going to Tallahassee for the legislative session, and then later in the month, at the end of the month, I'm going to be going to Washington, D.C. to talk, as we've been talking, to advocate against the ban on Uber and Lyft that is still being discussed up there. And then trying to talk with Harry Glenn, our lobbyist, about securing our funding. I will answer any questions, but that concludes my report.
Any questions? Okay.
I've got,
Yes,
I
Commissioner
don't
Walker.
know procedurally if this is the appropriate time to bring up some updates from the great city of Dunedin as it pertains to what Brad just said.
Go ahead. You have the floor.
Okay. Thank you very much. First and foremost, I am very proud to announce that after a 3-hour meeting last night, we had a unanimous vote to essentially put a lot of things in place that will allow us essentially to open the marina sooner and start affecting the repairs that we know need to occur. Right. As part of that, we also voted unanimously to use a general engineering contract to get a contractor on board to start working on the ferry pier. So it was definitely forward progress. And so more to follow on that. We, as part of our legislative priorities, we also are pushing in parallel with PSTA lobby for grant funding to support any efforts that we can leverage for getting getting our marina back and getting ferry service to Dunedin. So, and finally, I will say this, my perspective, the 3 or 4 home games that we've had were all sold out, and Jolly Trolley was very prominent, and all I've got to say is go Jays.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. Any other business? Anybody else would like to give us an update? Anyone? Any exciting news anywhere? All right, then we're going to move on to item 12. Any board comments? Board comments? Anything? Board Member Hazelden.
Yes, thank you. I've had several people that have contacted me online and in conversation, but really more online, about all the free rides that we've been giving away. I know in your weekly online, newsletter, oftentimes you've been talking about free rides for this and free rides for that, New Year's Eve, and so on and so forth. I won't go through it, but I have a stack of things I printed off here that were various events offering free rides like the Boogie Woogie for New Year's Eve. And, when you look at the cost of our ride, per unlinked ride, it's very, it's, a lot of people don't understand the true cost of a trip and giving these trips away. My calculation shows that a trip, and I can go through it more, but I'm just going to kind of get to the bottom line. An unlinked trip, if I get on a bus and I go to a stop, is roughly about $15 to the PSTA when you look at the operating and capital budget. And so even if you, then also factor in that most people will transfer at least once, which means that $15 then is $30, and then they need to go home. And we're dealing here with a lot of money and a lot of product that I don't think we should be giving away except to the veterans. And we've made a decision by this board to have free rides for the veterans, which, I'm totally in support of, and having discounted rides for those who need discounted rides, and even more than that. But just to have a party night, and I'm having taxpayers that have contacted me and say, what is this that we're seeing this just given away as giving away our product? And also then another thing that kind of comes into my mind when I think about this, are we counting these as rides in our ride totals? And that's just a rhetorical, that's not really a true question, Brad, but how many per year, how many thousands or how many hundreds of thousands of rides are we stacking up per year through these events? And is that counting towards the rides? So I just, I don't mean to be a problem. I guess I am a problem. But I just, I'm kind of a bean counter, and I love this agency. I love what we do, and it's so important. And I just want us to stay on track, solve our problems, help the people have the best ride they can get, and try to reduce our overall cost per ride. And there's many ways we can do that, in my opinion, which, like, for instance, is all of the most expensive buses. There's so many things that we need to be working on. And I'd just like to say that other than veterans, I think that we should not be giving away free product. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. It's important that you do that. Thank you so much. Next is Vice Chair Fig Sanders.
Thank you so much, Chair, and good morning, everyone. Hearing the comments, I just kind of wanted to jump in regards to the services that we provide, especially the free rides. When I hear about the New Year's Eve, the first things I think about the benefit from that are the business owners. We are economically providing an advantage for small business owners, which to me is the vein of our financial stability, especially in those high utilized areas. So PSTA is my favorite board. And the reason why it's my favorite board is because it does take in context of being financially responsible, but it also understands the biggest goal in providing safe transportation for all of our riders and constituents. So we know that New Year's Eve and certain things like that, I don't consider it a party, but there's a lot of things that could impair some of our drivers. And I thank PSTA for wanting to protect those that are utilizing the roadways with safe alternatives and opportunities for transportation. So nothing is ever free, but saving a life, reducing high chance of having a fatality based on impaired drivers, to me is worth it. When I hear about the veterans, I am hands down when it comes down to supporting the veterans, but how do you choose? How do you choose what groups get free bus rides? And I just want us to be cognizant when we're looking financially at our dollars and how we spend them, we still have to consider the fact of the long-term safety that we're providing. When I also hear a lot of people don't understand the cost of a trip, I would love for us to be attentive when we give out prices of costs, because when people hear us throw out numbers, they take it as gospel. I would love to have a true cost of what it costs riders and what we may be actually spending for those to be able to utilize our services. So I look at, the free ride. We've had this conversation before. And as an organization, we have done a wonderful job of providing and trying to do our best of providing quality service while reducing costs, but also maintaining a certain level of financial stability to the organization. So if the request is to look at what it costs us as an organization to provide the free rides, and let that be the request. And like I said, we've had that before, but I don't want us to, and I appreciate all of your comments, I really do, because we need that. But I want us to keep in mind that when we are evaluating the young lady that was standing there in tears, she's a veteran, but it was a bigger issue for her, providing that transportation. I just don't want us to lose that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Board Member McCain.
Yes, thank you. I love this discussion that we're having. I love being a part of this board, and I love that I get to have these kind of philosophical and nerdy and transportation system discussions. I'm really into this. And when so the few things I'll add, I don't want to repeat what other people have said. It's not a good use of our time. When we do have discussions in the future about cost per trip, I think it might be important to keep in mind that some of our trips are these PSTA access trips that I suspect have a higher cost than some of the just everyday fixed route services. I suspect there's a distinction to be made there. I just hope we keep that in mind. Other thing I want to point out, when we have events like Localtopia in St. Petersburg that we had last weekend that I went to, that was a great success, huge, vibrant, all these local vendors coming out. We did, I believe, offer free rides on the Sunrunner to get to Localtopia, and I took the Sunrunner down there, and it was packed, and it hit me that you can't have that event without a strong public transit component there. And this isn't a political statement. It's not a right or a left. It's not even a urban versus suburban. This is a math issue. This is geometry. You can't put that many cars in that small of a space. It's one of the things I like about the ferry services. We talked about how important those outer islands are for our economy. They're also really packed for space. And so trying to cram a whole lot of cars in there, I think, is a recipe for disaster. So I support a lot of these free ride initiatives that we have. I'm also sensitive to the cost of them, absolutely. If there's some kind of middle ground where we have discounted rides, who knows? But I generally support incentivizing people for those types of events to leave the car at home. It's better for society, it's better for the event that we're having, and it's better for the local businesses as well. Thanks for letting me talk about this stuff.
Great feedback. Thank you so much. Board Member Hazelton, you have the floor.
I do love this conversation. It's great. I think we need to be talking about this kind of things, details. And, but here's kind of what goes through my mind. As a resident of St. Pete for 37 years, anything that's good for St. Pete, I'm happy about. But I don't think at the expense of people who live in Dunedin, or people who live in Clearwater, or who people live in unincorporated, that they're paying their property taxes for free service to events and Local Topia and so forth in St. Pete. So to your point, I think it is very good for business. I've been in business all my life, so I'm a big pro-business person. But by the same token, it's not fair to the rest of the county. Maybe St. Pete, should be paying for these services. So, and maybe I'm not aware, and they do pay for these services to have free transit to their events. Look, St. Pete has events all the time. So, and that's a good thing about St. Pete. But, there should be some arrangements made for free transit to those events. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Brad, you have any final comments?
No, it's a good discussion, and we will work to talk about our different partnerships and contracts we have with cities. And we're open to anyone paying us, Commissioner Hazelton.
I agree. I really enjoy the open discussion from all of you. Thank you so much. A couple things before I adjourn. I'm looking forward from staff for March 5th on what Hart has to say. And I want to thank all the citizens for coming out today. Just remember, your voice here is very important to all of us here at the board. We want to hear you, and it's important that you come out and speak. With that, our next meeting is March 26th at 9 a.m., and this meeting is adjourned.
Great job, dear.
Great job.
All right.